Donald Trump is likely going to be indicted for a third, you heard me right, third time very, very soon. And he is making that prediction as well. This is the big news right now here from USA Today. Donald Trump target in January 6th investigation predicts arrest and indictment in Jack Smith probe. Donald Trump confirmed Tuesday he is a target of a federal investigation into the insurrection of January 6, 2021, and could be indicted soon on charges related to efforts to overturn his loss of the 2020 election. And we'll look at this statement that is being reported on that he posted to his Truth Social account. Wow, he says, on Sunday night while I was with my family, having just arrived from the Turning Point event in Florida, where I won the straw poll against all of the... Okay, so he's leading the polls, and predicting I'll be the Republican nominee, blah, blah, blah. I got horrifying news for our country. Was given to me by my attorneys. Deranged Jack Smith, the prosecutor with Joe Biden's DOJ, sent a letter. Again, it was Sunday night, as if that makes it less legitimate or something, stating that I am a target of the January 6th grand jury investigation and giving me a very short 4 days to report to the grand jury, which almost always means an arrest and indictment and getting an opportunity to appear before the grand jury does indeed indicate that. And as the USA Today article wrote, attorneys familiar with these kinds of investigations said a target letter means that charges are imminent. And we saw this similar thing play out with the last federal indictment. And so I do think that expectation of an indictment coming very, very soon is accurate. So a third indictment in relation to the most important potential crime that Trump needs to be held accountable for that he may have committed, which was attempting to overthrow our democratic process through the fake elector scheme, the Mike Pence element of the plan, and all of the lies he was using to justify concocting this and pressuring election officials and finding me 11,780 votes. And all of it were the same lies that he was telling to his followers that motivated them to go and try to prevent the certification of Biden's win, the lawful constitutional certification of Biden's win. And if indeed he's about to be indicted for all of that or parts of it, that will be exactly what we need in this country. A lot of times Republicans try to appeal to this sense of separate from the discussion about what's being alleged in these indictments, just the harm that is done by indicting a former president and current presidential candidate. That should be the discussion. This is a bad moment. No, it's bad that Trump did the things he did. It would be good for him to be held accountable for that. He tried to install himself president. Don't let people, as is happening far too often right now, downplay what went on. If he would have been successful, that would have been us not having a democratic election. He would have vetoed, he would have made void the free and fair electoral process that we have. And that would have been the death of democracy, at least for the time being. And so the fact that Jack Smith might be attempting to prosecute him for that is really, really good news, and is how we eventually heal, as we'll sometimes hear Republicans allude to. Speaking of Republicans and their response to this, we'll start with Kevin McCarthy here saying the normal talking points in response to this news.
Trump says he got a target letter from the January 6th prosecutor and says in 4 days he has to report to the grand jury. So do you have any reaction to that?
Well, I guess under a Biden administration, Biden America, you'd expect this. If you notice recently, President Trump went up in the polls and was actually surpassing President Biden for re-election. So what do they do now? Weaponize government to go after their number one opponent. It's time and time again. I think the American public is tired of this.
We're tired of you, Kevin.
They want to see equal justice, and the idea that they utilize this to go after those who politically disagree with them is wrong.
Trump says he got a...
It would be wrong if it were happening, though, right? The idea you talk about as being horrible, that would be horrible if a Department of Justice was being weaponized against political opponents for the purpose of hurting political opponents. That would be terrible if it were happening, but it's not. And you haven't effectively, honestly, accurately made that case. And so all of your talking points with that as the premise don't make any sense and aren't honest at all. Then I have for you, take a look at this. This is a congresswoman acting as a congresswoman should. Look at how graceful and profound her response was to this news.
Former President Trump says he received a letter from Jack Smith saying he's a target of a grand jury investigation of January 6th. Do you have a reaction to that?
Yeah, it's absolute bullshit. Yeah, that's my reaction.
Wow.
This is the only way that the Democrats have to beat President Trump, is to arrest him, smear him, charge him with ridiculous charges.
Interesting. If they were so ridiculous, then a single Republican would be able to walk through, at least in the things he's actually been charged for to this point, the specifics of why the evidence either is not real, it's somehow fraudulent, or doesn't prove what is being alleged, or the law is not actually being violated with the evidence being brought forward, but they can't. They just vaguely say it's political persecution without addressing the evidence. Because if they address the evidence, how on earth would they be able to explain away what is being brought forward? And a great example of this was, I think people just try to avoid engaging with the evidence because then it will be hard for their brain to hold on to the talking points they want to. And Trump supporters at the most recent rally I went to, I think every single one said they hadn't read the indictment or listened to the audio recording. Well, yeah, I guess if you don't engage with the information, then you can kind of pretend that the information is whatever you'd like it to be. Pretty wild. Donald Trump, indictment 3, coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.